the Real Men of Real Estate here on KCAA Radio. In case you missed it before, we're found at 102.3 and 106.5 FM, as well as 1050 AM, or on kcaaradio.com. I've been talking with Alec here about the kind of how we got to where we are now in this real estate market. Started back in 2002, and just going through the how it went, what we were seeing in foreclosures, and how it worked out for him to build his business. So, Alec, we were, 2010, you were doing a lot of deals, things were coming together in the next couple of years. So, what happened next? I mean, the market didn't change for a little while at least, but maybe foreclosures weren't as available, or kind of how to go.
Sure. Yeah, I guess the major shift was probably not major, but for us, 2013, somewhere in there, hedge funds, Wall Street decided to participate.
Right, they couldn't get their returns anymore.
Yeah, so they came in and started buying single family houses. I mean, to a point where auction.com was just showing up on the scene, and there would be the typical auctions at the courthouse Monday through Friday. And I think they were doing it every other week on a Friday. They would have kind of a ballroom. I think they were doing stuff down at Shelter Island, and they would have a ballroom situation where they would auction off a bunch of properties. Yeah. So one notable day, my wife was down at the auction at the foreclosure, the auction.com. And, she was familiar with the kind of heavy hitters that were showing up, buying a lot of stuff. And this guy named Chris, I think he bought every single family house in San Diego County that went for auction, actually made it to auction versus getting postponed or everything that day. I think it was to the tune of like 38 properties or something.
Whoa. Wow.
One guy basically saying, they're mine. I don't care if I overpay, in the scheme of things where we were looking to flip stuff. This outfit was a conduit for Wall Street money, and they were buying them and probably not doing much to them and just putting a family, renting them out.
Right. Yeah,
so
they knew it was going to run up, so they're just marking time. Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning. We diverted and went into buying condos. They didn't want those, and so it was a kind of a different little niche that we figured out. Different set of problems, but still. So we did that. Pretty much. I don't know. I still do it to a point, but not certainly. And it kind of went really downhill from there because Wall Street absorbed such a big percentage of the market that was going on.
What kind of premium were they paying over what you could pay?
It was usually generally 10%.
Okay, well, that's enough to, I mean, that would help me out.
I can remember kind of figuring out what they were looking for a certain yield on their rent. And it would be pretty accurate on, hey, that house is a $2,600 rental, and it would kick off this kind of what they could pay for it. It ended up being 10% over what everyone else typically would pay. Because I remember telling my wife, hey, go to 303 on this property, and it ended up at 335. And there's guys down at the auction that they'll just spite bid these people once they find out who they were, especially. It's like,
they bump them a little bit just to keep them going,
keep them going. So it wasn't like, hey, I'll pay 303 and it went to 305. They would push them certainly out of their comfort zone just to give them that old school boys club beating, which is kind of funny to see. So that was a big shift. We did okay. I'm not a big volume guy, so we could just still do our 4, 5,
pick
6
a couple
a year.
off.
Yeah. There's always something that'll fall through the cracks. We would just work harder than them on the front end. They wouldn't do any of the research.
They didn't walk the properties and stuff. No, okay, so you knew if one was particularly good, for some reason, but didn't look it, you knew it.
and I also know the bad ones.
Yeah. Right. The
And
one.
and this is a funny story. I walked one and I caught the mailman, and he's like, "Oh," he goes, "that's that house where a guy killed his whole family, shot his whole family."
Whoa. Holy crap.
And like, okay, that's like, you know,
Stay the
you're
heck
gonna
away from
find
that.
that out from the neighbors. You're gonna have to disclose it, all that. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of like, okay, I'll stay. And we were real friendly with one of the guys there, and my wife told him just to give him a heads up. We're not gonna jump on it anyway, so we'll, throw a little goodwill to someone in the business. They bought it anyway.
Oh, wow.
And just pushed right through. So
They had a big enough process of deep enough pockets. They just dealt with it.
yeah, I mean, you're doing 60, 70 a year. You can take a stinker if you end up getting one where,
Right.
So yeah, that and again, it's still, I think it will be a viable business. Again, there's just so few right now that I don't even bother with it. So
I mean, whether we get a recession or outright stagflation or something like that, then
sure,
maybe this will be a thing again.
Might be, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they passed some goofy law. I think we talked about it a little bit before. Personally, me and you, where there's a 45-day hold on, not a hold. Anyone can come in and buy the property from someone who's bought it at the sale now. I don't know how it's being enforced, if it's actually happening, but it was a Senate bill. I think it's 1076, but so after that, it was like, between so few of them even coming up that actually make it to sale, the, COVID, foreclosure moratoriums, all that mixed in, it's kind of like, well, let's spend our time somewhere else kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, I looked at one last week, the great condo up in Carmel Valley, 624 square feet. And, seemed like the price was all right and I could do something with this, and walk in and there's a tenant and she hands me a piece of paper and just proudly exclaims that, there's a moratorium. You can't evict me. Nothing's going to change. And I'm not, you can't raise my rent.
Really?
And she was as stern with me as anybody could possibly be. And I literally been in the place 2 seconds.
Wow.
She didn't know who I was, what I was doing, I'm looking for a tenant. I already have one, right? Like,
right.
And so thank you for filtering.
Oh, that one,
but it's just kind of interesting how it goes. These laws are coming around, and the landlord business is going to get tougher. It was already tougher here in California, but you better know your stuff. Yeah. So you ran through these strategies. I know you started kind of tracking deals down, talking for realtors, doing some off-market marketing, trying to get things, what's working there? I mean, I know we kind of know the market and the rates and everything until basically, beginning of this year.
Sure. Yeah.
But things kept on shifting. So how'd you survive it?
Like I said, I don't do a ton of volume so to me to tap the brakes and reassess things it's pretty easy. So that's kind of been the strategy of looking at some of these market shifts. We were talking like interest rates recently. Is that what you're kind of?
Well, you got the hedge funds come rolling in 2013.
Okay,
and so you had to change your marketing strategy. The business didn't change, rates didn't change, prices kept going up.
I gotcha.
You were almost in the situation. I mean, none of us ever felt comfortable with it, right? But you were in the situation of you could probably get 20 to 40 more for something by the time you sell it, but you never put that in your calculation because the market could turn at any minute, right? So
right,
so like it just did, which we'll get to.
right, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, how are you finding deals?
Back then, you're saying?
Yeah, 2013 to like 2018.
Yeah, I kept at the trustee sale. Relationships with real estate agents around town. At this point, I've been in the business a while, make some good relationships, try to do what you're gonna say you're gonna do, what you said you're gonna do, that kind of thing. So and again, having 5 or 6 a year to be the goal. 1 or 2 shows up from a real estate agent. you know, another
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3, you know, then I'm done, I'm full. So
Right.
hadn't done any like direct marketing or anything back then. Still going to the sale. And then probably around 15 or 16, a lot of these bigger wholesale outfits came to town, and I'd usually pick off 1 or 2 from them, you know, like a net worth or,
Yeah.
you know, those kind
Any
of
one of these big
Sunday
wholesalers
or
starting to come into town. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So and again, it was the same old thing. I'd look at, you know, 100 deals and buy 2, you know. So
Sure.
but I could just find the niches that I liked in the situation that I knew I could make the most of, I guess. So that was kind of from, say, 2015 till about now. Now I'm trying the marketing, as you know. I haven't stepped like fully into it, but maybe that'll be
Yeah.
a show in a year or two.
Yeah.
I can give
Yeah.
you
I know
some
you're
feedback on,
laying the framework for a whole
for
different
sure.
approach to this business. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
we'll definitely dig more into that when we come back.
for
I
sure.
also want to talk to you a little bit more about just kind of what the Fed's doing. I know you've got one recently that's trying to move, so
Yep.
yeah, we'll dig into that. So